This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Set to go for a busy Sunday with a heavy Saturday schedule. Lots to get into, lots to talk about around the National Hockey League. We will touch on all 31 teams in the NHL today as well. Yes, that's the pledge over the next couple of hours. Lots to get into regarding the Columbus Blue Jackets. George Richards has made the move. He is now covering the Blue Jackets for the Columbus Dispatch. We'll talk to George this hour. Chris Peters from ESPN.com will join us as well. We'll kind of whip around the NHL, a couple of thoughts on what's gone on early in the season from Chris Peters. John Rosen is the LA Kings insider for Fox Sports West. He will join us in hour number 2. Boy, oh boy, what a start those Los Angeles Kings are off to early on in this season. And of course, it is Sunday, and that means it is Fantasy 5 time. Hashtag Fantasy 5. Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, will be with us for this week's Fantasy 5. Help for you and your fantasy hockey pool. Things were going okay for me and mine. Was kind of a close back and forth week, and then it seemed to be slipping away for me, and now it's kind of gone back even. Pretty interesting week so far for me in fantasy hockey. Hope it's been a good one for you, and Steve will have a little help for you again. Hashtag Fantasy 5 for Sundays. 5 names for you to help out, get help in your fantasy hockey pool. HockeyUnfiltered.com is where we are streaming live every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Also live on Facebook, live on Periscope, on YouTube Live, all powered by Primetime Radio. Our Twitter and Instagram handles, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. And if you need to, you can email directly, Todd at HockeyUnfiltered.com as the email. Third weekend of the National Hockey League season. This has kind of gone the similar fashion as the previous couple. Super busy, super heavy Saturday, and then things tail off and have kind of a quiet Sunday. The way some people like, a nice quiet Sunday. Just one game. Vancouver Canucks, Detroit Red Wings. That's the only game today on the schedule. In fact, Monday is a quiet night too with just a couple of games. So after today, I'm officially done with saying it's early. We're 2.5 weeks or so into the season. I'm officially done with it's early. We're at the point where you've looked at your team, you've played a few games, maybe about 10% of your schedule, and you can start to look at and you really start to examine things a little closer and say, you know what, maybe this isn't just a coincidence. Maybe this isn't just some good luck. Maybe this just isn't some bad luck. Maybe this is really what we're seeing. This is really something or some things that we're going to have to address this year. I'm past the point. After today, I'll stop saying it's early because it's not anymore. You're at the point in the season where you have to start making some choices, some decisions. Now, not everyone is going to agree, but think about it in this perspective. If you're still thinking it's early, still thinking that even if you lost a few games, you're not quite on track yet, there's still time to get things sorted out. Just think about the Saturday game with the New York Rangers and the Nashville Predators. Okay, it's early in the season, but the pressure's on, the losses have mounted. Think about that shot near the end of the game of Henrik Lundqvist, the goaltender for the New York Rangers, when that empty net goal went in and sealed the victory for the New York Rangers. Yes, their losing streak was over. Henrik Lundqvist stood there in his crease, his arms raised up, the weight lifted off his shoulders. He looked like Andy Dufresne in the Shawshank Redemption. Remember Tim Robbins, who played Andy Dufresne in the Shawshank Redemption? And he had that big escape plan. And he went through that awful, gross sewer pipe stinking and smelling of stuff and barfing along the way to escape from that hellish prison. And he got out the other end and he got into the river and he stood up and he raised his arms in the air for freedom and the weight and the burden being lifted off his shoulder. That was Henrik Lundqvist yesterday. That was Henrik Lundqvist yesterday. So yes, we're no longer at the stage where, oh, it's early. We're past that. We have passed that point. So as I was mentioning yesterday, if you were with us on our Saturday program, same time, same outlets, Saturdays and Sundays, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. I said we're going to kind of go through every team in the NHL And we'll just kind of assess whether or not they've met the expectations of where you thought you'd be success-wise, whether you've exceeded expectations, or whether or not you're falling below expectations. Yeah. It's a hard look at a few teams. We'll start in the East, and then we'll get to the West. We'll go through as many as we can. But I thought it was a good time to do that because we're a few weeks in. Everybody's played a few games. You've maybe hit 10% of your schedule. Some teams have exceeded expectations. They start by kind of looking at the standings and just seeing where everybody is. I know it's not a large sample size. You can't just say that someone, because they're at the top of the standings, though, has necessarily met or exceeded expectations. Some you can. It's not strictly based on standings. You got to look a little deeper, look at some of the other numbers, look at some of the other statistics. So we'll just kind of go through it. We'll get through as many as we can here. We'll start with the East. We'll do the West later on. New Jersey Devils, up on top of the Metro Division. Yeah, they are definitely exceeding expectations. The youth, the speed, it has been fun to watch, and it has served the New Jersey Devils well in the early going. Up on top of the Metro after 8 games played. Good for them. They have a few days off now before they play another game, and that's probably a good thing, as a matter of fact, because, yeah, they've got an injury to deal with. A goaltender by the name of Corey Schneider, who's been sensational. What a bounce-back season he's had for the New Jersey Devils. That's just part of the reason that they have exceeded expectations. Youth has been served well and is serving the New Jersey Devils well. Pittsburgh Penguins, also with the Metro. I'd say they're meeting expectations. We expected this team to be good. They have a lot of talent. They have stars. They have superstars. They have good goaltending. They have looked good. They have looked very good at times. Other times they look a little disinterested, we'll say, like they did on Saturday in Tampa. The score started going up quickly for the Lightning. The Pittsburgh Penguins' interest started to wane. Sidney Crosby was a little frustrated, got himself a 10 for chirping and lipping off the officials, and it just kind of went downhill from there. They're a talented team. They've got a lot of good players. They're meeting expectations. They're not exceeding expectations. Coach Mike Sullivan will say, look, we got a lot of things we got to clean up in our game. But they're a work in progress. And as are a lot of teams in the NHL. Would you write them off? No way. Meeting expectations? Yes. Exceeding? No. But once this team sort of sorts their stuff out, yeah, don't count them out for a third straight Stanley Cup. Philadelphia Flyers. Exceeding expectations. Started the season with a big, long road trip, came out of it pretty unscathed, picked up some points, picked up some victories. Maybe that was a good thing for the Philadelphia Flyers, too. Start out west, play some of the California teams away from the pressure, away from the hype of playing in Philadelphia, get out onto the road, have one of those early trips where you spend a few days with the team and you focus only on hockey and only the game. Maybe that's one of the things that has help them get off to this good start and exceed expectations early on. How about the hot start from their captain, Claude Giroux? How many people were ready to write him off? How many people wanted him traded? Yeah, there was that whole fling the poo at the wall and see if it sticks. Yeah, should the Flyers be keeping Claude Giroux? He's been great this year. And I don't care what anyone says. He was hurt last year. He could not play to his ability. Just watching him, you could see the mind was willing, but the body couldn't keep up. This year, they are both working in perfect harmony. Wayne Simmons has been sensational as well. Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll talk more about the Blue Jackets in a little bit with George Richards, who's now covering the Blue Jackets for the Columbus Dispatch. I'll say meeting expectations for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Decent record. Still some little things to work out and to work on. And I think there's part of the mental process of having to figure out how to be a successful team. It's one thing last year to find yourself winning a bunch of games, but it's a different part of the learning process to figure out how to be a successful team consistently on an ongoing basis and keep getting better. There's other teams in the league that are still trying to figure out that process too. Decent record, look pretty good at times, other times a little inconsistent. They need to figure out how to have that consistent work ethic every night for an entire game. New York Islanders, I'll say that they've met expectations. Yeah, really. I think the Islanders have met expectations. I think they're a work in progress. They've got some decent talent. But with so many issues that are hanging over the team, it's mentally taxing on John Tavares, along with others. Their goaltending, some nights it's great, some nights it's not. They're about where they should be. For the Washington Capitals, falling short in the early going, but starting to show potential that the Caps are okay. They're a playoff team. Ovi's got 10 goals. TJ Oshie's popped a few. They got a couple of good lines that can score. They'll be there in April. Injuries right now, like the one to Matty Niskanen, is hurting the Caps, but they'll be okay. Carolina haven't played as many games as others, but I think they're meeting expectations. Maybe a slight lean towards below expectations. That could be corrected, though, in the next game or two. They've got to get past the mentality thing, that they're a young team and they're growing, and realize that their success level needs to be higher. They're a good team. Rangers, easy one. Not meeting expectations. Poor defensive play, lack of structure. They did win Saturday, though, against the Nashville Predators. Snapped the 5-game losing streak. That's good. So, yeah, they're not meeting expectations. Let's quickly go through the Atlantic as well. We'll get through these. Tampa exceeding expectations. Oh, yeah, unanimous. Everybody expected the bounce-back year for sure. But a healthy Stamkos, he's been unbelievable. Vasilevsky has been very good in goal. Nikita Kucherov, he is a scoring machine, even at 10 with Ovi for the league lead. Sensational. Toronto. Now, most people would say the Maple Leafs are ahead of expectations. Maybe a little. Not a lot. There are big swings in their level of performance. Some good, some not so good. They are a beatable team when they don't play with the right work ethic. When they do, they are almost an unbeatable team. Ottawa Senators exceeding expectations. Starting the year without Karlsson, winning games, picking up points. Season could have fallen away from them pretty quickly. But they keep winning. They keep hanging in. They've lost Bobby Ryan for a month because of a broken finger. That'll hurt. Detroit, I'd say ahead. Figured they'd get buried. Figured they'd lose a bunch of games. Could still happen. But so far, I'd say they are ahead of where I expected them to be. Boston, right about the same spot where I figured they'd be. Young players coming in. Injuries have hurt them. Florida has met my expectations. This is almost a new team. They have started over. They've wiped the slate clean from a year ago. New coach, new systems, some new players. It takes a lot of time to fix problems. It takes more time to fix problems than it does to cause them. And that's what the Florida Panthers are going to go through this year. They are fixing things that went wrong last year because it was a complete debacle. It's getting better. It'll take time. Buffalo, I figured, would be better. They're not meeting my expectations. I think they're in a similar spot to the Panthers. New coach, new system. They got some talent. They got some things to figure out, too. But I think they're going in the right direction slowly. And the Montreal Canadiens, I spent a bunch of time on yesterday, not even close. They're terrible. They've been awful. I think this team is just an absolute mess. I do not believe they are being well run. It's harsh. I know. I had a few comments after yesterday's show saying, gee, what you said about Montreal was pretty mean. I'm not saying to be mean. I'm not trying to be mean to anyone, ever. I just think that they're not a well-run organization. I think they don't have enough talent. They have people miscast. And I think when your goaltending hasn't been great, it's really exposes a lot of issues. So there's a quick whip through the East. We'll do the West a little bit later on. A lot of other things to get into. Some goaltending stories, because goaltending is going to be a story this week. We have a number of goaltenders hurt and other goaltending issues. We'll talk a little goaltending. We'll talk a little technology and how that might play a role. And because I've been asked about it and because it's become a bit of a thing, An update on the pickle juice. Yes, more on the pickle juice story from a couple of weeks ago. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Great tweet and great photo of Tim Robbins in the Shawshank Redemption movie up right now. Coming up this hour, Chris Peters from ESPN.com will join us. And also after the break, we'll talk Columbus Blue Jackets with George Richards. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break. There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition. We are here every Saturday, every Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Email address is todd@hockeyunfiltered.com. Streaming live every Saturday, every Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com. It's powered by Primetime Radio. Also join us live on Facebook, live on Periscope, live on YouTube. Oh, it is a busy, busy time. Oh, yeah, so much going on in the National Hockey League with a busy day Saturday and then just a quiet couple of days on Sunday and on Monday. Just one game on the schedule on Sunday. I kind of like it that way. I kind of like those days where you have just one game. You don't have to focus and jumping around and trying to stay up to date with everything. I do that. Not everybody does, but I do that. And you can just, if you're watching or if you're listening, you can just focus on the one game that's taking place. Today, it's the Vancouver Canucks and the Detroit Red Wings. Red Wings were involved in a trade yesterday. We had one. Yes, we had a trade. It's nice. First trade of significance of the season. We don't get enough of that. It's too bad because I like that. I think it's I think it's a good part of the NHL structure that you get trades, teams trying to improve themselves in season. We don't get as much of it because of the way the game is operated now when you have salary caps and salaries to consider. But the trade that occurred was between the Detroit Red Wings and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Riley Sheahan goes to Pittsburgh. Scott Wilson goes to the Detroit Red Wings. This was one that I heard about. It had been rumored. It had been, I don't like the word rumor, speculated about in a few spots for quite some time, but it was a matter of getting the Andreas Athanasiou contract situation sorted out. How was that going to play? They have now agreed to a contract in principle. They'll have to go through the process of immigration and getting Andreas Athanasiou into the country, and it is a process. So once he goes through that, gets into the country, the United States, gets it signed, does a physical, see what kind of shape he's in, maybe has a practice or two, then he'll get implemented back into the lineup. We'll see. But Riley Sheahan is now a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Kind of settles their issue of finding a third-line center. This was something that the Pens had talked about and had been speculated on. And Sheahan, I'd heard for a while, and I'd read for a while that this was going to happen. Athanasiou, now set. Scott Wilson going the other direction. Just saw on Twitter that the Detroit Red Wings say he will be in the lineup for the game today against the Vancouver Canucks. Interesting. Didn't know how that was going to impact their lineup, whether he was going to get in right away, whether they were going to have him practice first or not, but we'll have to see. Coming up this hour, Chris Peters will join us from ESPN.com. Happy to welcome back to the program. We used to talk to him covering the Florida Panthers, but he has made the move. George Richards is living life backwards. Instead of moving south to Florida as you get older, he has decided to leave Florida and now covers the Columbus Blue Jackets for the Columbus Dispatch. At George Richards is how you follow him on Twitter. George, keep it going. You're living life backwards. Good for you. Most people go south when they get older. You're going north. I like it.
Yeah, I think I've had enough sun in my life. I mean, well, it's about to try some snow. You know what I mean?
that's Hey, see how it goes. But I'm doing really well. I hope you are too, and settling into the new gig. I think it's great that someone that has covered the game for so long, like you have, is now covering the Blue Jackets, as they appear to be a team that's moving in the right direction and on the rise. Suffered a loss last night in a real fun game to watch against the Los Angeles Kings, but there's a lot to be excited about with this Blue Jackets team.
Yeah. You look at last night against the LA Kings. That wasn't the kind of style the Columbus Blue Jackets want to play. They don't want to play that kind of fast-paced game. But you know what? It was fun, and then they seemed to do pretty well in that situation. Things tightened down in the third, and then it was just a one-goal game. But no, I think things are really trending up here. Boone Jenner back in the lineup. That's a good addition for them. They've got a lot of forward depth. We know about their defensive guys. You've got a very strong defensive unit. And then you've got the goaltending, Sergei Bobrovsky. This Columbus team's legit. I mean, I think they're a playoff contender. I think they're going to be a force in the Metro with all those other tough teams there. I think it's going to be a real fun year covering these Columbus Blue Jackets.
Glad you mentioned Boone Jenner being back in the lineup, too. He's not the most prominent name necessarily on the Blue Jackets roster. Everybody kind of points to Artemi Panarin or Nick Foligno or someone like that. But he's the guy who plays the role on the third line, who gives you all of the things that a team needs to be successful. And having him back in the lineup is a big plus for Columbus.
Yeah, he's a glue guy. He's a guy that goes down, goes down low and gets those dirty goals. I mean, he's a guy that's going to put up goals. He's guys that scores, goals you need. I mean, when you're down 2-1, he's the guy that ties the game. He's the guy that gives you the 3-2 lead. I think Boone Jenner being back in the lineup is really going to help the Blue Jackets. I mean, he's a very talented player, but a very team-oriented guy. I think he's going to be good for them. You look at the top line, like you said, Panarin's up there. He's getting an assist tonight. He's already had 2 games where he has had 3 assists. So I think the goals are going to start coming for Panarin, but he's definitely helping out. He's definitely getting toward the net, getting his chances and helping out his line mates. So, forward-wise, the Blue Jackets haven't really had much trouble scoring, only when, Vasilevsky came here with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and they're not the only team that's had that problem against the Tampa Bay Lightning. The good feel good story of the Columbus Blue Jackets this year in terms of goal scoring, I think, is Sonny Milano. Not enough people were quite aware of his prolific goal scoring ability. He spent a little time learning in the minors. Now he seems to be ready to make that leap full time and stick with the Blue Jackets. And that backhand goal he scored, that was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, he's had some real pretty goals. I mean, he's a very talented guy. He's been moved down to the fourth line again, victim of that depth that the Blue Jackets have with Boone coming back. He slid down. But let me tell you, I think the one thing that John Tortorella has stressed is that they're going to coach up. They really like Sonny Milano. I think they like his attitude. They obviously like his skill set. They're going to really try and work with him on the other things. I mean, sometimes you've seen him kind of get lost defensively, but I think, by all reports, much better at that, much more aggressive in the defensive zone. I think we've seen that a lot this year, where I think it didn't happen for him in the past. And that's going to keep him in Torts' good graces. As long as he continues to work at the things they want him doing, everything's going to be fine. And it doesn't hurt that the kid's got 5 goals. He had 4 in his first 3. That was a torrid pace. No way he was going to keep up. But if he keeps pitching in and he continues to score some goals, obviously he's going to get the minutes. The Columbus power play hasn't been very good all year. Broke a long drought last night when Foligno scored to give the Jackets a 1-0 lead. So, I think Sonny Milano is a kid that's going to get a lot of chances, but he has to remember that in Torts' system, he has to also play on the back end.
And I think that's something that the Columbus Blue Jackets are becoming more and more aware of throughout their lineup, that they have to play a certain way if they want more minutes. This is the structure that's necessary to be a successful team, and it will serve them well in the long run. George Richards is with us, covers the Blue Jackets for the Columbus Dispatch. At George Richards is how you follow him on Twitter. Zach Werenski burst onto the league last year with a sensational season, no sophomore slump. He's got 3 goals, 3 assists, and he's been great to watch again.
Oh, Zach is just a tremendous player. I've been pretty lucky. I've gotten to watch Aaron Ekblad up close the last couple of years, and now here comes Zach. So Zach and Seth Jones. I think Seth Jones is obviously a very Blue Jackets are pretty blessed defensively. They've got some hardworking guys. Obviously, a lot of talent on that blue line. But Zach, he jumped a terrific rookie season. I think he's been very good this young man. He's very, he's got a lot of leadership abilities. So I think the future is bright, especially on that blue line for the Jackets.
For the Jackets this year, for them to take the next step in their success, is there anything that you've been able to see or notice and pick up on so far? Is there something that they need to do, either from an individual or from a team? It seems like they just need to almost get past the mental hurdle of, okay, we did well last year and we won some games, but we have to figure out exactly the work ethic or get past the mental hurdle to do this on an every night basis.
Well, I think the biggest thing is getting over the Pittsburgh Penguins. I mean, you look at the season that the Columbus Blue Jackets had last year, and it ends in 5 games, and you can blame a lot of that on different things. But how about blaming the Pittsburgh Penguins, the now the 2-time Stanley Cup champions? So that's a team that's in Columbus's division. They're both in the Metro. They're going to see a lot of Pittsburgh as the season wears on. Big cheer went up last night when they announced that Tampa Bay score at Council. So the Penguins aren't very popular here in Columbus, nor should they be. But I think that's really, they just the Columbus Blue Jackets just have to worry about themselves. I think we see that they're a very talented bunch. They're working their system. When they work their system, they're very hard to beat. You look at them in Winnipeg. That's as good a team as you're ever going to see it. The Columbus Blue Jackets play. I mean, not the Jets, but the way the Blue Jackets play. They play like that every night. They're never going to lose. So of course, you don't do that. But if they play their game, if they keep their head down, they forward check, they're aggressive there. They keep their feet moving, like you said. They're going to be just fine. They're going to be able to get the goals. They've lost their past 2, but again, they've played the Los Angeles Kings and the Tampa Bay Lightning, the best teams in the National Hockey League. I think the Columbus Blue Jackets are still one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. We're only 7-8 games into the season. I think this Columbus team is going to do some serious damage.
George Richards of the Columbus Dispatch covering the Blue Jackets at George Richards is how you follow him on Twitter. Congrats on the new gig, George. It's great to have you in Columbus covering the Blue Jackets, and I hope we can do this again soon.
All right, Todd. Thank you, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Appreciate it. George Richards from the Columbus Dispatch now covering the Blue Jackets. Yeah, they're a good team. And George makes a great point about you got to get past Pittsburgh. And getting past the Stanley Cup champs is no easy feat. Play well. Do your thing. Don't worry about what the others do. And it's a nice rivalry that's built up now between those two teams. Not that far apart geographically. It's a really nice rivalry between Pittsburgh and Columbus. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Coming up in the next segment, Chris Peters from ESPN.com will join us. John Rosen, LA Kings insider, later on in the program. Stephen Laidlaw with the Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you and your fantasy hockey pool with 5 names to keep an eye on. Lots to get into, whether the Western Conference teams are meeting, exceeding, or falling below expectations. And yes, the much anticipated update on the pickle juice, all coming up. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
Welcome back. It's Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition, every Saturday and Sunday, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio, live on Facebook, live on Periscope, live on YouTube, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Lots to get into today. Expectations met, exceeded, fallen short of for Western Conference teams, a little goalie talk, a few other things as well. We'll look ahead to the one game on the schedule on Sunday, which is the Vancouver Canucks and Detroit Red Wings. Happy to also have on the program with us this hour. He has been a frequent visitor in the past. We're happy to have him back again. Now you can follow his stuff on ESPN.com and follow him on Twitter at Chris M. Peters, and joins us on the line now. Chris, it's great to have you back, and I look forward to more discussions about what's going on in the NHL. Tell me your first impressions on the first couple of weeks plus of the season that we've seen so far.
Well, Todd, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me again. And yeah, you know what? So far this season has surpassed my expectations in terms of pre-excitement, just what we're seeing from some of the individual players. Seeing the bounce back of the Tampa Bay Lightning is obviously one of the things that stands out. And when you can have both Nikita Kucherov and Steven Stamkos lighten up the scoreboard for you, things are going to go pretty well. So they've been really exciting. Obviously, a lot of surprises on the opposite end of the spectrum. The Edmonton Oilers, I see what's happening with them continue throughout the rest of the season, but certainly a stumble out the gates with such high expectations. But I mean, overall, this has been a fun season to kind of get into. We're seeing scoring. We're seeing a lot of teams that are getting off to hot starts, and obviously the addition of Vegas has been a positive one so far, with them having a bit of a historic run to start the season. So lots of great for people in our business.
Yeah, it's been wonderful to see so many good stories. St. Louis, even though they lost to Vegas last night in the overtime game, they've got off to a better start than I was expecting. And one of the things that you're covering for ESPN.com is focusing on young players, on prospects, and we have seen so many of them have such great success early on this season as well, having such a big role. And it seems as though this is a trend that is going to continue for the next while, that younger players coming into the league, having a huge impact, not just the Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews players, the first overall draft choices, but so many young players coming in and taking over and dominating at times in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this rookie class is a great example of what can happen with your young players. We're seeing obviously a hot start from Will Butcher, who was the former Colorado Avalanche draft pick, and then he goes through the whole free agency process, lands with the Devils, who desperately needed defense. I mean, they really, their prospect pipeline has dried up a bit. They didn't have much there. He comes in and he makes an immediate impact. We've seen, even though the Arizona Coyotes are bad right now, Clayton Keller has been electric for them. 6 goals already, and to me, he would have been my. I didn't start ESPN before we submitted all of our preseason predictions, but. So it's, there's no way to prove it, but really he's been the guy that I thought would be the Calder favorite coming into the year. Certainly one of the rookies that I expected to make a big impact. And I think, some of these guys that come out of college hockey and they don't have the really gaudy numbers that you can see out of players from the OHL or the Q or the Dub, they are making an immediate impact. And Will Butcher and Clayton Keller, 2 really good examples of those college guys that have kind of come in. Anders Bjork with the Boston Bruins is another one that's been really exciting to see, and Charlie McAvoy as well. So a lot of young American guys doing pretty well. But aside from that, you look at like Nikita Kucherov is still under 25 years old, and having just another remarkable season. Certainly one of the best that we've seen. And Austin Matthews, I think, is really taking over. He's commanding the headlines that we would expect any great player in Toronto to command, but I think he's doing it around the U.S. as well. He is becoming a name in this league in a way that is very difficult for players in Canadian markets to do. But I think obviously with him being American, him being this really, I don't know that we've really ever seen anything quite like him. As good as McDavid is, of course. I mean, and we haven't really seen much like him either. You've got these 2 really unique players in McDavid and Matthews kind of taking over the league. And even though Crosby is still there and Ovechkin is still there and guys like Stamkos, Tavares, these are the guys that we're used to seeing up there. These young guys are really nudging their way into the upper echelon. And I think, we've got some of the elites that are under 23 years old still.
Chris Peters is with us from ESPN.com. Follow him on Twitter at Chris M. Peters, talking about some of the younger players in the National Hockey League and the impact that they are having. I'm glad you brought up Austin Matthews. Last week, I think it was last Sunday, I was kind of making the argument that I can see his progress from his sensational rookie season already in the first few games that he has played this season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm ready to put him, even in that small sample size of just over a year, that in the not too distant future, we're going to be talking about Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, who are already being discussed back and forth who's the best player in the NHL. It's not going to be long before Austin Matthews is in that discussion, and it's going to be the talk about
who's the best of those three players in the National Hockey League. And I agree with your point. It is so important for the growth of the game that Austin Matthews take on a more prominent position as a role player in the role of promoting the game and growing the game in the United States.
Yeah, and I think as much as he tries to kind of shy away from the attention, I think he understands that too. And that's at his young age, the fact that he is, I think he's willing to take that role on. It's not something that he is going to enjoy necessarily, but it is something that I think he feels more of an obligation to take on. And certainly as a player from Arizona, from a non-traditional market, from a Mexican-American background. I mean, he checks so many boxes for why the NHL kind of needs him to be one of their faces. And I agree with you. I think that this is the way that he's played, he is exceeding expectations, even from my very high expectations. I always, have a soft spot for guys like him, the kids that come from those non-traditional markets. Seth Jones is another example. They've really carved their own path and made their own way, and have done it in many different ways. So I think that this is kind of interesting to see where he's going to go next, because I definitely see him jumping into that conversation. And to me, the McDavid-Matthews thing is almost going to be like a Gretzky-Mario thing. Kind of like we might have debates far into the future. Hopefully both of them stay healthy for the entirety of their careers, and we're able to kind of have a bigger sample to have those kind of arguments and conversations, and the production will be there. But I think that for us, and really I think it's important for Canada as well, to have these superstars in Canada. I mean, we were talking a couple of years ago with no Canadian teams in the play. What's happening? Well, it's all paying off. All the struggles are paying off because you're starting to see these great players filter into the Canadian markets as well, and that's also good for the game. Certainly, you need to have those American markets strengthened and everything else. But let's not forget that this is very much Canada's sport, and to see those teams engaged and in the conversation, I think that makes it more interesting. Even if it's not going to be the best for television ratings, it's good for the league as a whole.
Well, I think it will sort of balance out in terms of ratings for TV and media, et cetera, because Austin Matthews is American. And as you mentioned, his background, his history, I think that's important. It kind of helps that you have a strong Canadian market, and especially even Leaf haters, I think, would admit that having a strong Toronto Maple Leaf team is good for the league and good for the growth. I think it's good for the growth of the game in the United States that Austin Matthews take on that larger role. Connor McDavid's just been named one of GQ magazine's 10 greatest future athletes, or exactly whatever the title is. I almost wish that they had given that to Austin Matthews, or maybe it'll be in next year's edition or whatever, because I think that's important, having, as you put it, having Matthews and McDavid as to the comparison, which is going to be better. I think it's better because Austin Matthews is American and Connor McDavid is Canadian.
Yeah, the drama, the storylines that kind of just come with that. And we've never had an American that close to the conversation. As good as Patrick Kane has been, and yes, he's got the Hart Trophy, one Hart Trophy and multiple Stanley Cups. He's not been in that discussion with Crosby, and never gotten in that discussion with the Crosby-Ovechkin debate. I mean, and to have an American player in that conversation, and I agree with you, the Maple Leafs having Austin Matthews is going to draw. They do pretty well on TV ratings-wise when they're on, but NBC Sports has not put them on often enough to really get a good feel for if it's going to make a long-term impact. If we see some more of those original six games, if we see the Toronto-Chicago, the Toronto-New York, those kind of matchups on national TV, I think they're going to do just fine. And as I mentioned, he is starting to get that down here, where he is starting to get on ESPN's airwaves. He is starting to be discussed more in various sports debates and in talk radio down here. So I think that's going to be something to kind of keep an eye on. And if he can continue to do what he has done so far, he is going to continue to challenge Connor to be one of the best players. And even if it's not a who's better debate, just having them being as good as they are makes it exciting hockey to watch.
Absolutely agree. The other thing that is so good about the young players and how they're coming in and succeeding in the league is that they're not all forwards, they're not all wingers, they're not all centers. You mentioned a name a little while ago, Charlie McAvoy, the Boston Bruins, who I think is just He's just such a smooth player, and I think he has so much confidence, and I just see him growing into a sensational role. Mikhail Sergachev of the Tampa Bay Lightning is another one. Young players coming into the league and being able to play the defensive position. This is a new thing still for the National Hockey League.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at that what Zach Werenski did last season.
Right.
You look at this upcoming draft is very heavy on offensive defensemen, guys like Quinn Hughes, Ryan Merkley, Adam Boqvist. These guys that can really, and obviously Rasmus Dahlin. How can we, we can't forget the number one guy. I mean, these are the types of defensemen that are making bigger impacts in the National Hockey League. And I think that as these guys kind of filter in, and as the game has kind of evolved, you need to be so much more than a steady stay-at-home guy. And usually if you're a prospect at this point and that's your only skill, you're going to have a really tough time making it because the game has gotten so much faster, and the importance of moving the puck from the blue line out to in transition. And obviously the way that Erik Karlsson has kind of changed the way we look at defensemen, and Brent Burns as well. Those are the types of things that I really enjoy seeing. And I think Charlie McAvoy is going to be one of those guys that very much like Werenski stays in the Calder Trophy conversation throughout the year. He's, to me, what I've seen over watching him for pretty much the last 4 years, it has been an incredible progression from, he made the World Juniors as an underager, looks pretty uncomfortable in that tournament. U.S. didn't have a great tournament that year. Comes back, he's the captain the following year, and was, outside of Thomas Chabot, the best defenseman in that tournament, and really it's just continued to progress. And I think that you got to give a lot of credit to Boston University for developing so many NHL prospects so well and giving them a place to grow, because the 2 years that he spent there, I think really took his game to the next level. And so now we're seeing him make an impact at the NHL level. We're going to see so many more guys like that. And really credit to development in major junior and the NCAA out in Europe. It's just gotten so much better that these guys are coming into the league far more prepared than they ever have been. And it's pretty impressive to watch, guys in their teenage years and into their early 20s make such sizable contributions to their NHL teams.
Terrific stuff from Chris Peters from ESPN.com. At Chris M. Peters is how you follow him on Twitter. Really enjoyed it. Glad to have you back again, Chris, and hopefully we can do it again frequently as the season goes along. Thanks for this.
Absolutely. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Chris Peters from ESPN.com. Glad he mentioned Thomas Chabot, too. There's another great defenseman that we're going to be seeing more of as this season moves along, because he's got the talent. It's just a matter of finding a place to get him into the lineup. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Busy program today. Covered a lot of ground in the first hour. We'll have more on the Western Conference teams coming up a little bit later on. Who's meeting expectations, who's exceeding expectations, who's falling short of expectations. John Rosen from Fox Sports West will join us to talk LA Kings in the next hour. Steve Laidlaw with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, some goalie talk, an update on the Pickle Juice story, and a whole bunch more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. We know you hate to miss an episode of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, so you don't have to. All of our shows are available as podcasts just after the live broadcast finishes. Yeah, we have dozens of little elves that work really hard and get all the audio put together and then distributed out into the universe. Not exactly, but it's available through our website, and you can subscribe through iTunes, iHeartRadio, Blog Talk Radio, and all kinds of other places. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, always available on demand. Check it out on our website. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
What a fun show today. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back for our Sunday edition, here Saturdays and Sundays, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio, live on Facebook, live on Periscope, on YouTube Live, and more outlets to be announced in the coming days and weeks. John Rosen will join us in the next hour. We'll talk a little LA Kings. Also coming up in hour number 2, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DauberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, help for you and your fantasy hockey pool. Hashtag Fantasy 5. 5 names to keep in mind. Maybe you can pick up somebody on waivers. Maybe you can make a little deal. Little help for you in the week ahead. We looked earlier at the Eastern Conference and teams that were meeting and exceeding expectations. I think we'll do the Western Conference right after the top of the hour, kind of go through all of the teams, just kind of assess where they are through the first couple of weeks of the season. Until the end of the day today, we'll say it's early. But after that, it's not early anymore, because we're at a point where critical choices, critical decisions are going to have to be made by teams. You're going to find yourself in a hole that you cannot dig out of. Or you may find yourself in a spot that, you know what, we're kind of ahead of where I expected to be. Maybe we need to refocus and adjust our plan a little bit. Teams are going to be making choices and decisions about player personnel, a lot of it involving goaltenders, and you're going to hear a lot of goalie talk this coming week, because goalies, of course, are the most important position. Just ask goaltenders, they'll tell you. But there's going to be a lot of goalie talk and discussion, because there's news involving goaltenders, and it's not all good. And teams are going to be wondering how they're going to approach the goaltending position. We've had a lot of goaltenders injured in the first couple of weeks of the season. Tuukka Rask this past week was injured during practice. That's a tough one. I mean, it's one thing if you get hurt during the game, but if you get hurt during practice, was Anders Bjork, who was going hard to the net, kind of ran into Tuukka Rask. The two collided. Now he's out. That's tough. Anton Khudobin has been okay, though. Tuukka's been the guy. Is there going to be an issue when he comes back? Depends on how well Khudobin is playing. He's been okay so far for the Boston Bruins. It's not been a huge drop-off. That was a big concern. Bigger concerns, I think, with the Vegas Golden Knights and Marc-Andre Fleury, who is out, suffered contact. He's suffering from a concussion now. He also has a history with that issue. And you certainly aren't going to rush him. You certainly aren't going to hurry him. You're going to give him all the time he needs and wants. But boy, oh boy, you want him back, because your backup goaltender, Malcolm Subban, was injured on Saturday night against the St. Louis Blues playing that game. Kicked out his leg, went to make a stop, and you knew immediately, you could see that, he's not getting up. He's not feeling good. I can see the discomfort that he is feeling out on the ice, and he couldn't continue. Malcolm Subban could not continue. It was Oscar Dansk that had to come in and finish the game for the Vegas Golden Knights. Made 10 saves, though, got the victory, an OT win for the Vegas Golden Knights. I think there might be a few people wishing that they still had Calvin Pickard in the system, but he, of course, was dealt to Toronto. And word from NBC Sports, apparently the injury to Malcolm Subban, they will know more on Sunday, but it looks like he could be out a while. And that's tough news. That's bad news for Vegas, because they have been feeling it this year. They've been a nice story to start the season. Roberto Luongo, the Florida Panthers, injured on Friday night. Kind of trying to run a pick, slow down an opponent during the game, catches his glove on the post. Youch. Youch. He's on IR. James Reimer, who they signed as a free agent, he's going to have to be the guy. Can he be the number one guy as opposed to the co-number one, the way he'd been working the system with Roberto Luongo? And I kind of feel for Roberto Luongo, who's been battling injuries the last couple of years. Corey Schneider of the New Jersey Devils, also out with injury. Placed on injured reserve by the team. Keith Kincaid has been good, but how long can you ride him on an everyday basis? How long is Corey Schneider going to be out? Because he's having a really good bounce-back season for the New Jersey Devils. He is having a really good season, and you hope that this is just a minor little thing. The Devils have a number of days off in the coming week. They don't play again, I believe, till Friday. So that is good news for them, and that hopefully Corey Schneider can get back and healthy. But this illustrates the importance of your backup goaltender. You got to have a backup goaltender that can not just come in and spell off a guy here and there. You got to have him come in and play. Can't just take up space. He's got to play. He's got to play well. He's got to help you earn some points. Still not sure? Well, we got a guy. We think we can play him 60, 70 games the way Cam Talbot did a season ago for the Edmonton Oilers. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather have somebody come in who can spell off my number one. Pittsburgh Penguins. Yeah, they got their third line center. But what are they going to do about a backup goaltender? Because Antti Niemi sure has not been the answer at the start of the season. He's brought up more questions than answers. I can't believe he's out on the ice. He looks dreadful. I mean, I guess it makes sense. If you're Pittsburgh, you sign him. It's a low-cost thing. He's a backup goalie. Going to play the second night of back-to-backs. And but he's looked awful. He's overplaying shooters. They make one move. He bites big. And man, oh man, he is just, it's like he is swimming out on the ice every time the play comes toward him. This is not a sustainable situation for the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is something that's going to have to get addressed. And we're already starting to hear a little talk of, maybe we're going to have to call up Tristan Jarry a little bit sooner than we expected. He's playing in the American Hockey League, and they want him to be the number one guy and be the goaltender. But, you know, they may have to get him up every now and again to play. Because Antti Niemi, I don't know if you chop him right now, but you cannot continue in that situation. It has not been good. But it's an example of what the Pittsburgh Penguins need. They need a backup goaltender. Got their third line center. They made the deal on Saturday for Riley Sheahan. Wings had to move him. They need a little salary cap room. Andreas Athanasiou is coming in. Scott Wilson is going the other direction to Detroit. Apparently he is going to play on Sunday. Kind of wondered if that might open up something for the Red Wings and the rest of their roster. Maybe get some more young players or some other other players going. David Booth hasn't played much for the Detroit Red Wings. He was brought in on a PTO. He signed. Oh, there's a great story about David Booth, who also happens to be a pilot. Dan Murphy from Sportsnet. It's up on sportsnet.ca. We'll tweet the link out to you. Fantastic story. It's from the previous summer when David Booth was trying to hook up with the Anaheim Ducks and latch onto their roster. Didn't work, and he wound up playing in Russia. But the adventure of him getting to training camp to try to make the roster, it'll open your eyes. David Booth is a private pilot. Licensed pilot. He was flying to training camp. Cruising along up in the beautiful blue sky. Only problem was his engine went out. Obviously, you know it had a positive ending. It's a fascinating story. We'll tweet out the link to it. It's a really good story from Dan Murphy at sportsnet.ca. At Hockey Unfiltered is the Twitter and Instagram handle. At Todd Lewis Sports as well. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com, the email. Hour number 2 of the program coming up after the break.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Hour number 2 of our Sunday program, a busy one, lots of ground to cover, lots of things to get into. Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, will be here with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. It's week number 2. Maybe you're going head-to-head, looking for a little scoring help, looking for a little something. Steve will have 5 names for you, as he does every week in our final segment of hour number 2 on Sunday. Also coming up this hour, John Rosen, LA Kings insider for Fox Sports West, will join us. One of the hottest teams in the National Hockey League, embarking on a road trip, had a big victory Saturday in Columbus. They continue on the roadie this week with stops in Toronto and beyond. We'll talk to John about the latest in the LA Kings. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. We are streaming live on Facebook, on Periscope, on YouTube Live, and of course on hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio, every Saturday, every Sunday at our time that we have been here for years. This is year number 7 now, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Oh, great feedback. Great comments. As always, we love them on social media, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports on Twitter and on Instagram. Said it in the last hour. After today, this is it. It's no longer early. I'm not saying that anymore. Can't say that. Teams are going to have to start making hard choices and decisions about their personnel, about their type of play, and perhaps consider some adjustments, maybe some minor adjustments or changes, maybe some much larger ones. But we'll hit the 3-week mark of the season coming up on Wednesday. It is no longer early. You cannot look at something that has gone on for a few games and say, well, we just had some bad breaks. We haven't got any puck luck. I love that one. No, you have to honestly look at and assess where your team is, how you feel about their progress or lack of progress, what they've been doing so far, and whether or not this is going to continue or how you're going to fix whatever problems you may see arising. It's big. It's important because, yeah, you've played maybe only 10% or so of the season schedule, but those points count. Those points are valuable. It could be a difference of whether or not you make the postseason or not. Look at the relief on Henrik Lundqvist as the Rangers snapped their losing skid on Saturday at Madison Square Garden. Arms thrust in the air. Yes, we got a victory. It's that important this early. After today, there's no more it's early. Now it's, okay, how are we going to address that? How are we going to move forward? What do we have to do to improve our fortunes? What do we have to do to keep going, to keep having the kind of success that we've seen so far this season? If you're one of the clubs that has played a little bit better than you or anybody else has necessarily expected. Look at New Jersey in the East. Look at St. Louis in the West. Those are teams that have exceeded expectations. What if you're a team that struggled? The Rangers I just mentioned, Montreal. What are you going to do? Montreal's got a couple of days to sort it out before their next game coming up on Tuesday, which I think they'll win, by the way. The heat is just up high enough, and things I think have just been bad enough. Carey Price illustrated that by smashing his stick after that latest loss on Friday. Things are just bad enough that they'll win. And they'll be the warm, fuzzy, but it won't fix any of the issues. Let's look at the Western Conference now. We did the Eastern Conference in the last hour of who's meeting expectations, who's exceeding them, and who's falling short. Let's look at the Western Conference now. Starting with the Central Division, the St. Louis Blues, I just mentioned quickly, they are definitely exceeding expectations. I was really concerned about the St. Louis Blues heading into the start of this season. Going through training camp, it seemed like every day and after a preseason game, there was somebody else that was getting hurt. But the St. Louis Blues have surprised me. Wasn't convinced their record over the last 25 games or so last season, they were going to be able to sustain and have that same kind of success, especially with the injuries that they'd had. But so far, St. Louis Blues have been one of the very nice surprises in the National Hockey League. They have been good. They have been better than I expected. Goaltending's been really good with Jake Allen. Their defense has been solid. Jaden Schwartz has been healthy and contributing, helping offset some of those losses. They have been good this season. Chicago Blackhawks might be a little ahead of expectations, or maybe right about where we expected them to be. Maybe leaning on a little bit of exceeded. But that also might just be because of their hot start. They came out guns blazing. They were hot to start. Corey Crawford has been terrific. That's something that I don't know that has been really talked about a lot with the Chicago Blackhawks. He's been very good. I don't know that he gets enough credit or enough respect for how good a goaltender he is, because the Hawks have in the past used so many weapons to score goals. And the focus has been on Taves and Kane, Panarin up until this year since the trade to Columbus. Now it's Saad and others. Keith Seabrook gets so much attention. But their defense has been okay, even with the many changes. Corey Crawford has been good. And their forwards have been good. They had that hot start that really served them well. See how well they can keep it up moving forward. Dallas Stars meeting expectations. There were high hopes for the Dallas Stars heading into the season because of the big moves they made in the offseason. Signed Alex Radulov, signed Ben Bishop, brought back Ken Hitchcock. Stars are also, I think, trending up. So they have been meeting expectations, but I think they are trending upward right now. Ken Hitchcock was full of praise for this team and praise for the process in the early going when they were losing games. We're doing things right. It's going to happen. That was the Ken Hitchcock we were seeing. Now they're starting to cash in and get some of those points. They're improving as this year moves along. That's what you want. That's what I'm seeing from the Dallas Stars. So they are meeting expectations and seeming to be trending upward. Nashville Predators. I had to think about this one because I've watched a bunch of Nashville. They lost their most recent game on Saturday to the New York Rangers. I had to really think about this one, but I'll say that they're just meeting expectations. This is a team that went deep in the playoffs for the first time, went to the Stanley Cup final for the first time. Naturally, it's going to take a little while for them to absorb all that, process that. Plus, they had a lot of changes, significant changes to their roster over the summer heading into this year. Nick Bonino comes in, Mike Fisher retires. They lose one of their best defensemen for a good portion of the year. That's a lot to process, not just in terms of physically how you're going to conduct yourself out on the ice, but mentally as a team. So I'll give the Nashville Predators enough credit to say they're meeting expectations. They're playing pretty well. They have a lot of room for improvement, but they're okay. Also in the Central Division, I'll say that the Winnipeg Jets are meeting expectations, but I'm not sure everybody would. They're meeting my expectations because I didn't think they were as good as a lot of people were discussing. A lot of others say, oh, look, they're a talented group. They got lots of skill. They got lots of really good players. Yeah, but that talent doesn't always mean you succeed. It takes a lot of other things, not just talent. You can have the most talented roster, but you don't necessarily have the most successful roster. Jets have a history of undisciplined play. They have taken bad penalties. They started off the year doing that. They have gotten better recently. Goaltending is still a work in progress for the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuck looks good. Steve Mason, jury's out. Until both those problems, the goaltending and the undisciplined play, are corrected for good, they're not a playoff team. If they get those fixed, they might be. Colorado Avalanche started out exceeding expectations. Now they're kind of settling back to where I thought they might be in terms of success. They're just kind of in a holding pattern until the whole Matt Duchene thing is done. I don't think that team can really move very far forward until that's resolved. Minnesota Wild, of course, below expectations, mostly because of the injuries. 4 of your top 6 forwards out at a time, that's hard. Below expectations. If they can get healthy and stay healthy, they'll be okay. In the Pacific, LA Kings, way above expectations, way above my expectations. Hot start, didn't see it coming. Figured Kopitar would bounce back. He's been better than expected. What is going on with Dustin Brown? I don't know. We'll talk more about that with John Rosen coming up. Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. What a nice surprise. What a nice storybook start to the franchise career in the National Hockey League. After all the horrible events that city endured, this is a nice story. This is a good distraction. This is a feel-good story. This is helping in the healing. This is a really nice story about the success they've had. I don't think it continues till next spring, but in the meantime, enjoy it. They got goaltending issues that they've got to deal with right now. Marc-Andre Fleury out, Malcolm Subban also out. But right now, savor it, enjoy it. It's a wonderful story. Calgary, I will say, is just about where I thought they would be. This team has questions. I'm not sure they realize it. I'm not sure some fans realize it. In fact, I'm not sure a lot of the fans realize it. They're not deep enough in talent to be a top contending team. As Exhibit A, I present you Jaromir Jagr, who is now out with some sort of injury. He left Saturday night's game with an injury. Don't talk about it. Don't ask. Doesn't want to talk about it. It's a lower body injury. They've also been dealing with some undisciplined play and taking bad penalties. Anaheim Ducks slightly below expectations, but I would put that off to having half their roster injured. It's a good thing they have all those defensemen. All the ones people were saying, oh, you got to trade, got to make a trade. Maybe it's a good thing they have all those defensemen. Patrick Eaves, I guess, is the latest one who's going to be out a while. Vancouver Canucks are above expectations. They're a team in transition. I wonder if they're doing what they can to make that happen quick enough. Travis Green, I think, has been a good addition as a coach. I think they're just kind of back and forth, and you can't suck and blow at the same time, and it seems like the Canucks are doing that somewhat. San Jose Sharks, I would put as below expectations, but also showing signs of life and improvement and maybe moving in the right direction. Started out on a lengthy road trip on Friday, had a really solid game against the New Jersey Devils. Had the tough back-to-back. They played Saturday night against the New York Islanders. They keep it going and get the Rangers on Monday night. But San Jose started off like they were a little bit in flux, seem to be moving in the right direction now. Edmonton Oilers, way below expectations. Injuries have played a role, but the same thing as Calgary. They're not as deep as people think. High-end talent, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, steep drop-off shortly after that. They are top-heavy. Their goaltending was outstanding last year. Hasn't been as good this year. They've got great superstars. They have some injuries, and they don't have the personnel to fill in. So they got to kind of figure out what they are. They have a lot of players, and that's about all you can say about them. Got a couple of great stars, but they don't have a full roster, a full 4 lines that you can keep rolling. And Arizona Coyotes, I will say, are below expectations, but only because they haven't yet won a game. I figured they might have had a victory. Oh, I know they were touted as making great moves in the summer. Look at the moves they've done to shore up their defense, and they brought in a goaltender, Antti Raanta, currently injured. They still got a long way to go. Yes, they did bring in some players, but they still have a long way to go. So there's where everybody sits as far as I'm concerned in terms of expectations, meeting them, exceeding them, or falling below. And as we get to the point about 2-3 weeks into the season, you wonder if it's like, okay, who would you like a do-over on some of your preseason predictions? I might. I might on one, maybe 1 or 2 of them. But it's still, it's early for a few more hours. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, if you want to weigh in, who you think's beating them, exceeding them, or falling short, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. Coming up this hour, Stephen Laidlaw with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5 before the hour is done. And in the next segment, John Rosen, LA Kings insider for Fox Sports West. Also this hour, we'll do the Pickle Juice update. Story from a couple of weeks ago, an update on the Pickle Juice. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition. We're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio, live on Facebook, live on Periscope, live on YouTube. Before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DauberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. A lot of other stories to get into as well. We're happy to welcome to the program now the Los Angeles Kings insider for Fox Sports West. Kings off to a hot start this season. You can follow him on Twitter at LA Kings Insider. John Rosen joins us. And I don't know if anybody saw this kind of start coming, John, but you figured there would be improvement from the Kings, but this is beyond everyone's wildest dreams, I think.
Yeah, fooled me, that's for sure. Thank you, too, for the invite to the show. Really appreciate it. Happy to talk Kings here.
Beautiful Sunday here in Toronto, and it's interesting to come into the center of the hockey and hockey media universe with the Kings off to the start that they've been off to. We all assumed that just a voice, a change behind the bench should probably spur players like Anze Kopitar and Dustin Brown emotionally on the ice as well. And we knew that they were going and get a little bit more offense by distributing the puck into more high danger areas, playing with a little bit more pace and releasing some of the reins in the offensive zone. But surely not to this degree that we've seen thus far. The Kings have scored at least 3 goals in 6 of their 7 games this season. They went into Columbus, beat a team scoring 6 goals on the road last night, a team that had 108 points last year. So, no, right now, we all said that, after the home-heavy portion of their schedule, that this was going to be a good test. We're going to get a much better read of where exactly this team is at on this 6-game road trip that will continue tomorrow night in Toronto. But surely, past that first test, 6-4 win in Columbus last night. So lots of good things. It's a happy group right now.
I must say as well, that was a very fun game to watch. It got buttoned up a little bit in the third period, but when the teams were going back and forth and trading goals, the Kings and the Blue Jackets, that was a really fun game to watch, kind of like the Tampa-Pittsburgh game from a week and a half ago. But let's, you mentioned a couple of really interesting points that I want to ask about. I thought Kopitar would bounce back and have a better year. I just kind of figured that last year there was the whole contract thing, and that often burdens a player, whether they'll admit it or not. But it's just, he's a better player than that. And I would expected him to have a better season. I didn't have him at 6 goals and 11 points at this point in the season.
No, and a lot of this, there were a number of factors that went into his season last year. As you mentioned, the contract. There was also, on top of that, the fact that even before the World Cup of Hockey, he was playing Olympic qualifying for Slovenia in late August. And then again, too, he dealt with an injury that affected him for about 20 games or so, arm injury, fairly early on in the season. That plus a rotating kind of group of wingers that he had, all combined for a perfect storm to limit his offensive output last year. But I think the biggest thing this year is just that in the offensive zone, there are slightly fewer rules, and there's a little bit more freedom to be able to make plays. There's a story that we've written quite a few times this year. I know the LA Times has written about it as well. But when John Stevens took over, and credit to John Stevens, because he's been sharing this from the day that he was hired as the head coach through the season. He's been asked about it a number of times. They, and along with his assistant coaches and, primarily offensively, Pierre Turgeon and Don Makvar, are looking for ways to be able to distribute the puck into high danger areas. They want to get those clean zone entries, make more plays in the offensive zone, and be able to distribute the puck into the slot and get more high quality shots off from the slot, from the high slot. And that's what's happening right now. Talking with Kopitar, talking from Dustin Brown, they're finding themselves in better high danger opportunities in the center of the ice. They're attacking the net a little bit more. So these are things that, maybe seeped out of their game just a little bit. Keep in mind last year, again, too, that it was very difficult losing Jonathan Quick in the very first game of the season. And though the players really wouldn't admit it, not having Quick back there, and as great, it's wonderful the job that Peter Budaj did for this team last year, it did change the aura around the team. I don't want to get into the intangibles too much right now, but it did affect the way that they played a little bit, both emotionally and tactically. So Quick is back. That's another captain on this team, and really right now, that's affected them very positively in all facets of their game.
John Rosen is with us, covers the Los Angeles Kings for Fox Sports West. Follow him on Twitter at LA Kings Insider. The Kings continue their 6-game road trip against the Maple Leafs on Monday night. The other positive is the defense play this season, and young defensemen who have come into the Los Angeles Kings lineup and have had an impact and looked good and been very strong so far in their play. Derek Forbort has been good. We've seen him before. Oscar Fantenberg has also been good for the Kings this season.
Yeah, Fantenberg has been really a story that really coming out of nowhere. This was a player that, the Kings went after Will Butcher, very close to signing him. The Kings were very close to signing Neil Pionk. And Oscar Fantenberg was a player who was a KHL All-Star with Sochi last year. And, the thought was that he was going to need some games just to get acclimated in Ontario and most likely spend most of the season in the American Hockey League. And he jumps in and has a very good preseason. And we'll see if he plays tomorrow night. Took a hit yesterday, is on the ice today, though, was skating as that final rotation, the fourth defensive pairing. So might not play against Toronto, but we shall see tomorrow morning. but somebody that plays with really good pace, moves the puck up the ice quickly, has assists in 4 straight games, and it's basically just shown that he is a National Hockey League defenseman. This is somebody that they were able to acquire for free, did not have to exchange anybody for, will retain his rights, somebody that, they'll still have for the coming years for a very good bargain value. It's versatile, can play on both the left and right sides, and for someone who does that and also has a little bit of jam in his game and good confidence to be able to clear guys away from his net in his own zone, that was an excellent find, by Rob Blake, by this Los Angeles Kings scouting staff, including Christian Ruuttu and Nicholas Anderson out in Europe. On the back end, too, Derek Forbort continuing to show that growth. Last year, they wanted to see him add a little bit of snarl and heaviness to his game. He did just that, played in all 82 games last year, and has had a pretty good start to this season as well. Good job of shutting plays off, really long reach, great use of his stick, and has added, that kind of assertiveness and firmness to his game. So he's been quite good. And then, on top of that, they still have Drew Doughty in their garage too. And, you never have questions about him. Alec Martinez, another versatile player, and Jake Muzzin so far to start this season. Jake had a really difficult season last year, and the bottom really dropped out on that Muzzin-Martinez pairing. So far through 7 games, Muzzin 2 goals, 8 points, +4 rating. His possession numbers are always quite good. So he's somebody that had a very strong preseason and has carried it over to the regular season as well.
Other guys that have made an impact, not to the extent of Kopitar and Brown, but Kempe and Camilleri have both also chipped in a little bit, which has helped. And again, maybe just having that little more availability to be offensively thinking has helped everyone.
Yeah, and those 2 players specifically, the Kings are going to need them to continue to provide quality minutes with Jeff Carter out for a considerable amount of time, too. And one of the Kings' biggest strengths right now, and for the last however many years, 7-8 years, has been their 1-2 punch at center, and Anze Kopitar and Carter. So their center depth has been affected right now. So Adrian Kempe is getting a few more minutes. He's still technically a rookie. Still certain aspects in his game that he's looking to refine. Play away from the puck has improved. His competitiveness has improved as well. But I don't know if there's anybody on this team right now that has his game-breaking speed, his ability to make plays at a high speed, and does have some pretty good finishing ability. He's an interesting player because he has this skill set that kind of leads one to believe that this is a player that can score and put up some points in this league. But he's always kind of played a little bit above his skill set in the sense that he's always been a young player playing with men back in the Swedish Elite League, a young player playing with men in the American Hockey League when he put up 8 goals in 17 games as a 19-year-old in the Calder Cup playoffs back in 2015 when Manchester won it all. So he's been playing against men for quite some time. Now you're starting to see it put together at a hat trick against the Montreal Canadiens back on Wednesday. Interesting player, first-round draft pick back in 2014. The points the Kings believe will eventually come. He hasn't yet put up points in his NHL career, or really any stop in his career, but they believe with that skill set, his hands, and again, the ability to make those plays in tight spaces and at high speed, there's a pretty good all-around package there, and it's going to be interesting to see him and how he develops and how he fares with Jeff Carter out.
John Rosen is with us, LA Kings insider for Fox Sports West. At LA Kings Insider is how you follow him on Twitter. You mentioned the Carter injury. I haven't heard much about it other than he's out indefinitely, had a surgical procedure. The question I was looking for an answer to as well is, I don't know if he was wearing the socks that are supposed to help prevent serious injury when skates get into places that they're not supposed to. Do you know off the top of your head?
No, I'm not sure if he wore those the extra strength socks, but just a freak injury as he got tangled up with Jeff Petrie, underwent surgery. Yeah, it's a difficult situation as a player who is, other than maybe a little bit of an upper body injury in the middle of the 2015-16 season, hasn't really dealt with a great deal of injury. But no, this is something that he's going to have given the time needed to recover coming up.
Yeah, and that's a shame for the LA Kings. The other injury question I have is I didn't know if you had a status update maybe on Marian Gaborik and when he might be able to hit the ice.
Yeah, he has resumed skating again. The Kings gave him about 3.5 weeks off the ice. The team has employed the kind of MO of, give him a week or two, and maybe you'll gain a month or two at the end of the season, because he had rejoined practices in a limited capacity midway through the preseason, and appeared to be, on track to potentially making a return early in the year, and then was kept off the ice for 3.5 weeks. Anytime you use the term setback, that's something that raises a red flag when you're talking to hockey operations staff, and they declined to use that particular term. But he wasn't on the ice for the better part of a month. He is back skating on his own back at Toyota Sports Center, though, as he looks to recover, but there's still no real timetable yet on his return.
John Rosen, LA Kings insider for Fox Sports West, at LA Kings insider to follow him on Twitter. John, thanks for this great info, and hopefully we can have you back again soon.
Todd, my pleasure. Thank you so much for the invite. Have a great day.
Thanks, John Rosen from Fox Sports West. That's a hot start. Nobody saw this coming, I don't think. Sure, you thought LA was going to be better. Dustin Brown, did you figure he'd have 11 points, 5 goals? Not me. Kopitar, of the two, who do you figure had the better start to the season? Kopitar, for sure. Dustin Brown, boy, yeah, been highly critical for a long time, and, well, understandably so. His play was terrible. Is it all about system? Don't know. These are the kinds of things we're going to find out over the next little while as the NHL season moves on. Marian Gaborik, that's another situation. That's another story. Maybe he gets back. 35 years old now, still under contract for 3 more years. That's the tricky part in terms of Marian Gaborik. But a great start for the LA Kings to the season. Still haven't lost in regulation. The 6-game road trip continues Monday in Toronto against the Maple Leafs. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Lots to get to before the top of the hour, including Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. 5 names to keep in mind. And yeah, feel free to share your report card with us. Who's meeting, who's exceeding, and who's falling short of expectations. Went through mine for the whole season, or for the whole season so far with all 31 teams. Kings are absolutely exceeding. Before the top of the hour as well, a few other stories to get to. Oh, and an update on the pickle juice story. It became quite the sensation and got a bunch of questions about it. When I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, we'll dive into it a little deeper after the break. Coming right back with more Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you miss the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with SeatGiant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
Welcome back. This is the Sunday edition, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, powered by Primetime Radio. We are streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, live on Facebook, live on Periscope, live on YouTube. Before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw with us with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, assistance and help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. It's a tight matchup for me this week, doing the head-to-head thing. It's tight, it's close. Got a chance to eke out the victory, but it is very close and tied in a number of categories. So I will be looking at the list. Actually, I already got the list. I'm looking at it, and we have the final draft of the list because there was a bit of an adjustment made late last night. Lots of stuff to get into in terms of the National Hockey League with a busy Saturday, just a single game on Sunday. It's the Vancouver Canucks and the Detroit Red Wings. We'll look ahead to some of the other games scheduled. A little story I saw earlier this week. I was talking about it. I was tweeting about it, about how Commissioner Gary Bettman spoke about the famous glowing puck from the Fox television days in the National Hockey League. Commissioner Bettman, in his speech, said perhaps that kind of technology was something that could be revisited. Maybe the league was actually ahead of its time. Perhaps it's right. Before you freak out and get all bent out of shape about the glowing blue puck or the red contrails that it looked like as Fox Sports was doing television a number of years ago for the league, I'm not looking for a blue puck. I'm not looking for the red streak every time the puck moves, but there's areas where we could use technology. You can see the puck fine now. High definition television, 4K TV is getting bigger. 8K TV is coming, by the way. It's when the puck is amongst players, is caught up in pads. That's when we can use this kind of technology with the chip in the puck. Because that was the key to the glowing puck. Trying to determine if the puck has crossed the goal line and has become a good goal. Right now, you got to see it, or you have to figure out and determine that it is impossible for the puck to be anywhere else except completely across the goal line if it's hidden inside equipment or inside a goaltender's glove. Not always the easiest thing to do. Look at the games played on any night. There are times when the goaltender makes a catch or makes a save, and you think, ooh, that's close. I wonder if the puck actually crossed over the line. Malcolm Subban had one last night in the game between the Vegas Golden Knights and the St. Louis Blues. It was close. Would have liked to have seen it. Would have liked to have had the technological ability to know for sure whether or not it had crossed the line. If they can track pitches in baseball, shouldn't they be able to track the puck in hockey to determine whether or not it has crossed over the goal line? I'd like to see that. It's like the Cyclops thing in tennis. They can go back and they can determine whether or not a ball is in or a ball is out. I'm not talking about reviewing every play under specific guidelines and circumstances, and it's got to be in an expedited fashion. You could use it to determine, I would think, 100% whether or not the play was offside, whether the puck did come outside the blue line or whether it stayed inside the blue line. Yeah, it's nice to romanticize the game and the whole process and say, well, we've always done it this way. There's going to be imperfections. There's going to be mistakes. Yeah, how many times already has the Buffalo Sabres, Dallas Stars Cup game been brought up this year? It seems like something we can do and it can be done in a reasonable fashion. I'm not a tech geek. I don't know all the whys and wherefores and stuff, but it seems like this is stuff that we should be working towards and trying to expedite to bring more technology into the game so that you can say, here it is, for sure. No arguments. This kind of technology is also something we can look at to appeal to younger hockey fans. Make more young people hockey watchers, hockey fans. It is a technology world that we live in. More and more technology all the time. It is becoming part of life from a very early age. Bring technology into the game. Everybody's got their smartphone that they can't be without at any point in time. If you get more than 10 feet away from it, you feel a physical reaction. Technology is playing a bigger role in our lives. Driver-assisted cars are becoming more and more prominent. Whether it's the lane deviation or whether it's the actual self-driving cars, technology is becoming a bigger part of our lives. Bring it into the game, but under control. Virtual reality. The league experimented with keeping track of player movement, how fast they're going. You see it occasionally on hockey broadcasts and telecasts. They'll show you how fast a player is skating, how fast a puck is moving. More of that, please. I'm anxious for more of that. But that's why I tweeted about the commissioner mentioning the technology in the glowing puck last week. This is where it all stems from. More technology, bringing it into the game, incorporating it as far as your consumption of the game on television, on radio, giving you more information, second screens. I can see that happening. I know there are some that will be resistant to it. So many people are resistant to technology and changes and advances and change in general. This I could see as a positive. I could see this attracting more younger viewers and consumers of the sport. And that's what we need because the demographic is getting older. You have to bring in a younger audience. Oh, the other story I promised to get to today, and I'll do it now before we get into Stephen Laidlaw and our final segment of the day of the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking about a game with the New Jersey Devils, and player Blake Coleman was in the penalty box sipping away on a jar of pickle juice. Not just a water bottle, but an actual jar filled with pickles. It was delivered to him in the penalty box, and he started sipping the juice right out of the jar of pickles. That was the hilarious part to me. I didn't know if he wanted the gherkins or the dills or whatever as a snack, but he's sipping on the pickle juice. So I did a little reading and I did a little research, and there was a story about it this past week that got me pointed, and I pursued it a little further. Apparently, this has been a thing for many years. I was not aware that consuming pickle juice was such a big thing. Apparently, marathoners have used it. Football players have used it. It was unknown to me that pickle juice is some sort of magic elixir for helping muscle cramps. I have seen athletes use all kinds of liquids to help with hydration, to help replace electrolytes as they're performing, whether it's strictly water or whether it's sports or energy drinks. I know some that have sworn by Pedialyte for kids, for babies. I know some that swear by it. They have to have it before a game or an event. I had no idea that pickle juice was such a thing. So I looked a little further into it, and this story that I saw on CBS Sports, there is actually a company that makes this stuff. There is a pickle juice company. And the way and I burst out laughing when I saw the website, picklepower.com. So I read a little bit, and it's apparently they have in their pickle power in the pickle juice that at picklepower.com apparently has 10 times more electrolytes than other sports drinks. I got to try this stuff. I mean, sometimes you're feeling a little depleted. It's hot. You're outside. You're working, or you're competing in an event. No, I'm going to pass on the Gatorade or the Powerade. Give me a pickle juice. That's what I need. I need me some pickle juice. I like vinegar on things. I'm one that does put vinegar, especially malt vinegar. If you're having fish and chips on French fries, I like that. I like vinegar on things. I know vinegar is used and that's part of the pickling process, but this kind of seems extreme to me that you got to drink the pickle juice, especially as Blake Coleman did, drinking it right out of the jar. That's what freaked me out as much as anything. But I could see this becoming a thing now. Pickle juice. It could become trendy. It could become a real thing. I got to get some of this and try it. Pickle juice. It is. And the website again is picklepower.com. I could see this really becoming a thing though. You remember how it became a thing that, oh, it's a trendy thing. I got to have Red Bull. And Red Bull and vodka. Well, you put vodka in anything, as far as I'm concerned, it makes it a whole lot better. Pickle juice and vodka. Is that going to be a drink that people are ordering at clubs? I'll have a pickle teeny. That's what I want, a pickle teeny. The pickle juice and the vodka. No, I don't need an olive. I just need the pickle juice and the vodka. A pickle teeny. I can see that being a thing. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Pickle juice. I don't know. I guess it's good for you. In our final segment, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, will join us with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Back with more after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
Welcome back. It's Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter handles. Now, the social media and response and emails and comments and stuff have been flying since I mentioned the pickle juice in the last segment. So a little more update on that before the top of the hour. Right now, though, the serious stuff that people are waiting for, the important information, because they have fantasy hockey lineups to set. Only one game today, but everybody's looking for help. Everybody's looking for information. So back for his regular visit, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, is here with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Follow Steve on Twitter, at Steve Laidlaw, and he joins us now. Steve, thanks for the time today. Always look forward to it. And you've got some interesting names on the list this week. And, I got to say, too, I noticed that there was a late switch because of an injury situation last night.
Yeah. I mean, injuries are always a factor in the fantasy hockey game. You have to be ready to move and make some changes, especially with the bottom of your lineup. If a guy gets hurt, dump him.
Okay.
Find a new, better option.
There you go. Okay, let's get into this week's Fantasy 5. Name number 1, Vincent Trocheck of the Florida Panthers. Had a really nice goal last night, so he is name number 1 this week.
Yeah, it seems like he's always scoring nice goals. Always one of my favorite players to watch. He's Ryan Kessler light, both in terms of style of play, just a hound, always relentlessly chasing people down. And then in terms of his fantasy production, he's a stat stuffer. He puts up tons of shots, penalty minutes, hits, blocks. He does it all. And what's going great for him this season is the Panthers have finally joined the 21st century. They are using 4 forwards on their top power play unit, including Trocheck, one of their best offensive players. So I think that he's in line to see a spike in production based on that increase in power play usage. He's been in that 55-point range the past couple of years. I think with continued usage in this role, we could see him finally push 60+.
Name number 2 on the Fantasy 5, also the Florida Panthers. That's James Reimer, because Bobby Lou is out with an injury for a time, so James is going to be the guy.
Absolutely. I mean, Reimer's one of the best backups in the league, very dependable. Career .915 save percentage, and since he's joined the Panthers, he's been up around like .919 in terms of save percentage. He's a guy we know can run with the starting job for extended periods of time. He was, probably going to give you 30+ starts this year anyway. So with Luongo out, this is a chance to grab a guy off the waiver wire who's going to get you a bunch of starts in the next couple of weeks.
Stephen Laidlaw from DobberHockey.com is with us with this week's Fantasy 5, #Fantasy5, at Steve Laidlaw to follow him on Twitter. Name number 3, Brandon Montour of the Anaheim Ducks, because he's one of the defensemen that's not injured.
Yeah, he might be the only defenseman who's still standing, at least in terms of defensemen who know what to do with the puck. And if you remember from last year, Montour, during the playoffs, he was deployed something like a heat-seeking missile. So we know that he's a guy who hits a lot. He's a dynamic puck rusher. He's got a big-time shot. And with this opportunity, Cam Fowler out now, he's going to get all the minutes he can handle. I think that he's a guy who, whatever kind of league you're in, he's going to be able to stuff the stats for you, and potentially a bunch of power play time if they've got.
Did I lose you, Steve?
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thought I lost you for a second. I thought I heard you disconnect. My bad. Brandon Saad, name number 4 on this week's Fantasy 5, who is getting a little power play time with the Chicago Blackhawks, and that'll help his numbers.
Yeah, same story for Saad as with Trocheck. Always a really good 5-on-5 player. Always hounding, always around the puck. Now they're finally giving him some power play time. His minutes are up per game from last season, and that's fairly based on power play usage. So if he continues to see top power play time again, he's a guy who's scoring in those low 50s. He should push 60 if he continues to get used on that top power play unit.
And our final member of the Fantasy 5 for this week, from Stephen Laidlaw, #Fantasy5, was supposed to be the ageless wonder, Jaromir Jagr, but looks like he might miss a little time. So you've given us Michael Frolik as the final option.
Yeah, I think it kind of says something about the Flames' right wing depth chart that Jagr can get hurt. I just throw out another name. They don't have anyone who's too intriguing for fantasy value on the right side, but really fantasy relevant guys are already owned. For a league, the 3M line, they're pretty good. But the big reason that I'm promoting him this week is because they have the best schedule for fitting guys into your lineup this week. So there's no one in the league who has the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday schedule that's really optimal, maximizing games played. But the Flames do go Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, so you should be able to get an extra game or two out of your last bench spot if you pick up a guy like Frolik. Best schedule in the league, the Flames this week, one of only a few teams with 4 games.
Always good to keep an eye on the schedule. Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. #Fantasy5 at Stephen Laidlaw is how you follow him on Twitter. Good info as always, Steve. I noticed you tweeting about the Flames last night too, so that's great. Much appreciated, and we'll do it again next Sunday.
Yeah, sounds good, Todd. You take care, and best of luck this week. I hope you're doing well in your pool so far this year.
Well, we're hanging in. We'll leave it at that. If you missed any of the names by Stephen Laidlaw, we will tweet them out. They will be up on our website as well. I'll give them to you one more time really quickly. The 5 names on this week's Fantasy 5: Vincent Trocheck of the Florida Panthers, James Reimer of the Florida Panthers, Brandon Montour of the Anaheim Ducks, Brandon Saad of the Chicago Blackhawks, and subbing for Jaromir Jagr, Michael Frolik of the Calgary Flames. That's this week's Fantasy 5 from Stephen Laidlaw. As mentioned, the mere mention of pickle juice has has elevated the comment level through social media. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. You can comment as well on our Facebook page. I just think it's really odd, really funny, this whole pickle juice thing. But hey, if it works for you, then why not? But apparently it's good. I've never tried it. I like pickles, but I was joking in the last segment that maybe you need to mix it as a cocktail. And maybe that would help. You could mix it with a little vodka, the way people mix Red Bull with vodka. I'm not so much that, but I'll try the pickle juice and vodka, because I think vodka makes everything taste better, and it really does. And so I thought, we'll have a pickle-tini. But apparently, our producer Chelsea Clyde at CV Clyde on Twitter, by the way, a pickleback is a real thing. It is a drink. I had no idea that this was the case, but apparently a pickleback is a big thing. It's big in Philly. I never had one when I've been there. I've been there a number of times. Never been offered a pickleback. Never tried one. Never seen one on a cocktail menu. Whiskey and pickle juice. All right. I'm more of a vodka person, but hell, I'll try it. Pickleback. And the other important bit of information, apparently, that's coming through our social media channels, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, on Twitter and on Instagram and our Facebook page. Apparently, pickle juice, you don't want to drink too much of it because it's very acidic, and it's hard on your teeth and hard on your tooth enamel. So you don't want to, swirl it around like mouthwash or anything. Otherwise, you're going to be spending more time at the dentist. So these are all important things to know if you plan on diving into the phenomenon that is quickly becoming pickle juice. Picklepower.com was the website I was talking about. But apparently it's a big thing. Lots of electrolytes. It's good for you. It's apparently better at helping with cramping, if that's a problem that you're dealing with in terms of athletic or sporting events and endeavors. I had no idea. That pickle juice was such a thing. And now I'm being told is like, I gotta try it. Sure, I'll try a little pickle juice, but it's got to have some vodka in it. That'll be the proviso. If I'm going to try it, I like pickles, no problem. The sweet and sour pickles, dill pickles, no problem. Lots of garlic. I'm good with that. And put a little vodka in there. That makes everything better. But apparently pickle juice is also good for you. But careful not to drink too much of it, because it's tough on your teeth. Just one game on the Sunday schedule. It's the Vancouver Canucks and the Detroit Red Wings. A light Monday schedule as well, with LA and Toronto, and San Jose and the New York Rangers. The only 2 games on the Monday schedule. So we get a little bit of a breather. Then it gets going full speed again as the week moves along. A lot of great games. And we'll be back again next Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com. And don't forget, subscribe and sign up for our podcast on iTunes and iHeartRadio. Thanks to Stephen Laidlaw. Thanks to John Rosen. Thanks to Chris Peters. Thanks to George Richards, all for joining us. Thanks for listening and tuning in. Much appreciated. Back again next Saturday and Sunday. Have a great week of hockey.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. We know you hate to miss an episode of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, so you don't have to. All of our shows are available as podcasts just after the live broadcast finishes. Yeah, we have dozens of little elves that work really hard and get all the audio put together and then distributed out into the universe. Not exactly, but it's available through our website, and you can subscribe through iTunes, iHeartRadio, Blog Talk Radio, and all kinds of other places. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, always available on demand. Check it out on our website. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.